So you want to buy a Jeep Wrangler YJ, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here. This is going to be an immediate disclaimer. This is a 100% improvised video that's kind of made on the spot. We have not scripted this, and we do not have a bullet point list to follow through. So we're going to try from mental memory as best as we can guide you on what to look out for when buying a YJ, the kind of pros and cons and quirks and features. So I'm going to start off with mine here. Mine's gray. Mine is a 1993, and mine's a 4-liter. Our friend's right here, the red one, is a 1991, 2.5-liter 4-cylinder. And if you are on the market looking for a Jeep Wrangler YJ, the 94 and 95 model years are probably your best options. Not saying that these two years right here are bad or anything like that. It's just in 94 and 95, the transmissions are better. They have external slave cylinders. The 94 and below, or 93 and below I should say, transmissions have internal slave cylinders, which both of these Jeeps do, and they need to be dropped if you ever want to do that kind of basic maintenance with the transmission, which is something a lot of people, well, myself included, prefer not wanting to do. So if I could do it over again, I would have shot for a 94 or 95. But the thing is, with YJs, everything interchanges. I can actually bolt in a X15 transmission from a 94 or 95 and fix that problem. And the frames on a 94 and 95 are galvanized. So if a 94 or 95 isn't in your market, or they're kind of out of your price range for whatever reason, I don't think that will drastically, make a huge difference in the market value of a YJ. But my second pick would be 91 Jeep Wranglers and up, because they have fuel injected motors. You have, again, the two engine options, the 2.5 liter and the 4.0. And this right here is where it starts getting kind of fuzzy. In 92 and up, the Wranglers started implementing family roll bars, which is a 4-way roll bar that goes all the way to the back of the tub. And it's just, it gives protection to the rear passengers if they were to be sitting in the back seat, and it gives you the option to run a frameless soft top. 1991 and below had the sport cage. My friend's 91 does not have the sport cage. He removed it so he could run a frameless soft top, which is a very good soft top. And 91 below, you have kind of a different slew of engine options. You have a 4.2 liter that is carbureted, and the factory carburetor on those are electronically controlled, which I've heard just from the forum members on different YJ pages is just a headache. And you have a 2.5 liter. Now, I think in 87 they may have been carbureted. I went and looked at one and it was carbureted. I ran away from it because it was so underpowered, it was a joke. So I would personally stay away from 91 Jeeps and below just for that reason. Both engine options aren't that good. The transmission options are even worse. They're called a BA10, I believe. I have my friend here fact checking, like I said, this is just a improvised video, so we're kind of going over each other's backs. So now we're going to kind of point out the differences and the quirks and features of our specific Jeeps and what to look out for, and really what ultimately sold the Jeeps to us. Okay, so like I said, this is my 93, and this will probably really help out if you are looking at a 93 specifically. But like I said, from 91 and up, you're pretty much going to have the same platform right here if you're looking at a 4.0 with the AX15 transmission. But I'm going to go over some things that's coming up to my mind that you need to specifically look out for with a YJ is the frames. let me see this. I don't want my girlfriend to get dirty, so I'm gonna crawl down here and show you guys. These frames are very prone to rusting, especially back here in the rear with the shackles. They rot from the inside out. That's something to look out for. And tub rust is very bad. And I'm going to show you why with mine, because mine's leaking. The cowl seals, the soft top up here doesn't really line up with my windshield frame, which, as you can see, mine, I've actually rolled my Jeep completely over before. That's one thing I did not fix. But water can pull up and start rusting, and your floor pans can actually rot out. So if you are looking for a YJ of any year, it doesn't matter. They are very prone to rust. Even the 94s and 95s are prone to it too, because I'm pretty sure the tubs are not galvanized. It's just the frame, which the frames themselves can still rust. So again, look out for the rear frames where the shackle mounts are at. Now, as far as the front, I don't think they're very bad. I don't think there's any specific spots actually that are prone to rusting, but just, you know, crawl underneath the Jeep. If it's something that you are really, you know, wanting to work on and build up down the road, I would definitely make sure the frame, that's basically the heart of your build, and I would not buy unless you can patch it up and the deal is very good. I would run away from a rusted out frame YJ or any Jeep, any vehicle really. Now, I will show you some key differences between a 93 and my friend's 91. Is our dashes are different, and a lot of people that don't know YJs will see this blank gauge right here and wonder what the heck it's for. And it's not just a random blank gauge. It actually, it's a, I have to start my Jeep. It's a, watch. It's a 4-wheel drive. That's what that gauge is. The bottom half is actually blank. There's actually nothing to it. And my Jeep, like I said, is a 4.0. It's got 249,000 miles on it. I would not run away from a high mileage motor if it's been well maintained. The 4.0 is basically bulletproof. I have known people, and it's user error, that will run these things bone dry on oil, spin a bearing, and throw a rod. Not good. But if you can find one, and it's been well maintained, and every 4.0 and 2.5, you're going to have some kind of lifter tick, and it's really bad on cold startups. Mine has it, but it's not a big issue. The X15, just make sure it's got every gear. And reverse is one that you kind of need to watch out for, especially if the Jeep, like mine, is a higher mileage. Our friend says his 2.5 does the same thing. He's got an AX5. So you get an AX15 and a 4.0, and an AX5 and a 4-cylinder. So my Jeep's real sensitive. It likes to be at a complete stop before it likes to go in reverse. So if it grinds when you're putting it in reverse and you're kind of rolling forward, that's normal. That's just a common issue with the Jeep transmissions. But I mean, if it has every gear, they don't pop out, I would not even worry about the reverse grind. So that's one thing specific to my Jeep that's different than his. I think it's either 92 or 91 up, they switch these gauges over to this style right here. And you will see when he does his side of the video, his gauges are different. That's one thing that I can say specifically to look out for in just about any YJ. And he's going to go over the different quirks of his, and then we're kind of going to go over them together and point out the different reasons why you should get a YJ. So, yeah.
Alright, so this is my 91. This one has the 2.5 liter engine in it, which is substantially a lot less powerful than his with the 4.0. Only points, I guess, what might make it better is maintenance is a little bit cheaper. You don't have to put as much oil in it, and there's just less parts for it, pretty much, like spark plugs and that sort of stuff. And you may possibly get a little bit better gas mileage out of it. If any, it's not gonna be much, maybe like 1 mile per gallon or so. But yeah, I'll just walk you around this thing and show you what all I've done to it. and some things that are unique to the 2.5 that are different from the 4.0. All right, we'll start some of the differences inside here. I'll show you what's a little bit different from the. Mostly this is specific to the model years, but it's not really engine specific. But the gauges are one of the main things that are different on the Wranglers throughout the years. Mine has an analog clock and his doesn't. And also the gauges, I think, are laid out in a few different spots. The fuel gauge is still, well, that's the temperature gauge. That's the fuel gauge. It really doesn't work. I don't think his works either. Mine works maybe to 3/4 of a tank, and then you're just guessing by then until you run out of gas. But also, I think in 92 and below, 87 to 92, it has the analog clock, and that is specific to those model years also. But yeah, and also I think the letters on the gauges and the numbers are a little bit different. But yeah, that's about it. And also the layout on the indicator panel is also different too.
So I guess we can both talk about this together, since it doesn't really specify to any specific year or model or whatever. But one reason to buy a YJ, and any Wrangler in general, is you can do whatever you want. The sky's the limit. We have different style flares. There's 500 different options to choose from. Front bumpers, you have different options. You can cheap out. I mean, you can blow money, and you can pretty much make them unique to you specifically. Like, I mean, ours may share some similarities, but ultimately they're pretty much two completely different vehicles. They're YJs at heart, but I mean, he's done different things to his. Some things I'm pretty jealous of, like his side steps, a lot nicer than mine. He's got a better winch, and I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'm gonna try to remain on my Jeep here. With my Jeep and his Jeep, we both have Poison Spider hood louvers. I have the Rugged Ridge all-terrain fender flares. I have a soft topper, frameless soft top, which is the only soft top that you can use with full doors that I'm aware of, well, frameless anyway. Unfortunately, they do not make the soft topper anymore, so your only option is the Rampage soft top,
Which you need half doors in order for it to work, because full steel doors won't line up with the door frames.
Yeah, that's the only reason I have not switched over, and mine's still fine for the time being. Pretty much, like, that's all I can think about. Like I said, the sky's the limit, and Jeeps are like Legos. And as far as like interchangeability with Wranglers in general,
There's lots of parts interchangeability between even both of the engines. A lot of the, unless it's like really engine specific to the two engines, parts will interchange. Alternators off the 2.5 will fit on the 4.0. They're the same thing.
AC is the same thing too. I sold an AC kit for my 4.0, and the guy that bought it actually had a 2.5. Same thing. But like these bumpers right here, as far as TJs, they have a lot more out there as far as bumpers, flares, and stuff like that. They will actually bolt up to YJ. And Jake, yours are TJ flares, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I had to make some custom modifications to fit those, but they will fit on the Jeep. They may not look perfect, but I mean, they're 10 footers. They look good from a distance, and even up close, unless you really look at them.
I mean, I think they look good. Mine are specifically YJ pocket style flares, but you can actually bolt up TJ style, and they work. These bumpers are TJ and YJ specific front bumpers. Everything pretty much, and a TJ, I think, in my opinion, is probably the Jeep with the most aftermarket, because
That's probably the JK.
Yeah, the JK now
JK
took that throne, but I think the aftermarket started getting really big during the time of the TJs, and then now, of course, the JKs and the JLs, they're kind of, but that's a whole different ball game. We're not going to talk about that, because this is a Jeep that fits the budgets of most people. This won't put you in a huge contract with the bank or your dealership lots. You won't be 50 grand in debt with the YJ. And yeah, that's all I can really
Usually, you
think
can
of.
use it and abuse it, and won't hurt your feelings too bad because you don't have really a lot of money into it.
Yeah, you scratch the hell out of these things right here, and you have, I might have 10 grand in my Jeep, and that's like maybe a year's worth of payments on a freaking brand new JL. Like, you don't care to scratch this up. Yeah, at first it bothered me. You know, this thing was new to me. It was, I mean, yeah, it was 30 years old basically when I first got it, but it was new to me. But now, once I realized it's a Jeep, that's what they're built for. Take it out on trails and beat the shit out of it. I mean, that's just the way it is, and that's why I wanted the YJ, specifically because you have these safari style windshield wipers. This does too. We have square headlights. You find a Wrangler with square headlights, you can't, because it's only specific to a YJ. It's why I think you should get a YJ. Join the club. I mean,
Yeah, that's all there is to it.
that's basically all I can think of, unless you have something to add.
But be prepared to spend some money for it, because it does add up over time.
Yeah, the SYEs, the Ford 8.8s, re-gearing, that's all absolute must. Both our Jeeps have 8.8s. We have four-way disc brakes because of the 8.8, which is I mean, it wasn't that hard.
It's an easy swap.
Yeah, if you have just the slightest bit of, fabrication skills, if you can weld, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's all you need. You can buy, there's plug and play kits for the 8.8. There's plug and play kits for LS swaps. Wiring harnesses, you can get plug and play wiring harnesses for different engine swaps. And like he said, between the 2.5 and the 4.0, I think they even use the same radiators. The starters are the same, I believe. Spark plugs, plug wires, I think are the same, except of course with those right there, you got 2 extra cylinders. Distributors, hell, they might even be the same, but don't hold me on that. Can an AX-15 bolt up to a 2.5?
If you get the Dodge Dakota bell housing, they bolt up.
Yeah, that's another thing. Mopar, everything, if there's a will, there's a way. Like the Ford 8.8. I mean, I have a Ford rear end underneath. We both have Ford rear ends underneath our Jeeps. If you can think it, it's out there. There's all kinds of videos on YouTube. This is gonna be one of them. But if you anything maintenance wise, there's a guy out there that's done a video on it. If you don't know how to replace your power steering pump, there's a guy out there that's done it. And the community for Jeeps is huge. The YJ community is huge on Facebook. And I'm not trying to knock any JK or JL owners, but our local ones around here keep theirs washed and waxed. Ours look this good for this video. Any other time, they're covered in mud. And I mean, mine isn't washed that good. I probably have mud falling off my frame right now as we're recording.
There's plenty on mine.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the YJ. They're cheap, and
I definitely strongly recommend a YJ, just because of how easy it is to work on, how cheap you can get them. My second pick to that would probably be a TJ with a 4.0, specifically a 2000s TJ, because those usually are a little bit better. I know, like, and from 97, 98, they kind of have real bad electrical issues, and they have the heads on them are real bad for cracking, but they fixed that after 2000, I'm pretty sure. But look for a 2000s and up TJ. But still, my number one pick's a YJ, just because, well, this is my first Jeep and the only Jeep I've ever owned, so it's got a special place in my heart for that.
I hated Jeep Wranglers. I would never even thought of buying one. And then for some reason, my uncle, he bought a 95. I fell in love with it just because, like I said earlier, the square headlights, I mean, these quirky windshield wipers, everyone that gets in my Jeep, they're like, man, it's driving me nuts. I can't stand that. I love it. It's just, I don't even notice it anymore. Like, do you even notice yours? Unless someone points it out to me, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, they are in the way, and then I forget about it. But YJs, they're super, super simple to work on. They're leaf springs. This is the last of the leaf sprung Wrangler. You can take off your sway bars. You can take off your track bars. You take off a sway bar in a newer Jeep, you're going to die. It's not going to be a good time. With these, you get more flex. Yeah, the ride's a little bit rougher, I'm not going to lie, but it's a Wrangler in general. I mean, you're not buying this as a sports car. You're not buying this to carve corners at 60 miles per hour. You buy this because they're cheap, super easy to work on, parts are plentiful, and they're cheap. And you have a lot. I have tons of room to work. Even with the 4.0, I have plenty of room underneath the hood to work on. 2.5 is even easier to work on.
You could probably fit another engine under the hood.
Yeah, and I would show you guys my engine bay, but I'm kind of ashamed of it.
Yeah, I know what you guys are thinking. What in the world? But yeah, this is pretty much all the room you get to work with here, and there's plenty of it. I mean, you can get to your fuel injectors, you can get to your plug wires, you can get to your distributor. That's where the AC compressor would be at. There's your alternator. The starter is down there. I think it was 3 bolts. I had it off in 15 minutes. Your oil filter, look at that, right there within reach. Your intake, easy to get to. Radiator, everything is easy to get to. Uh, I mean, yeah, I need to take I need to give this thing a bath. But like I'm saying, as far as like general maintenance vehicle, these things are super reliable. And if something was to go wrong with it, look how accessible everything is. And this is with my 4.0, the biggest engine option in the Jeep, and you still have all this room. No.
There's even more room with the 2.5. I mean, you have this fan shroud, but still everything's easy to get to. I will admit, with the fenders, it's kind of hard leaning over it, but you can like even sit on the engine and everything, work on it if you really need to.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually crawled up into mine just to get to, certain things.
And if you can't reach it from up here, chances are you can reach it from the bottom, crawl underneath it and stick up there and get it.
Oh yeah, I mean, everything on these Jeeps, easy to work on, easy to get to, and I'll just go over his distributor. I mean, it looks like the exact same one on mine. No, wait, what am I talking about? It's a 4-cylinder distributor. Okay, those cannot interchange, excuse my stupidity, but other than that, the alternators, I'm pretty sure, are the exact same starters, stuff like that.
Airbox is the same.
Yeah, airbox is the same.
Master cylinder.
Yeah, I mean, everything on them.
Well, almost all the sensors are the same.
Yeah. So, I mean, and most of these sensors and stuff interchange with other Dodge vehicles too, like, the 5.9s and all that, like the Magnums and whatnot. But that's another rabbit hole I'm not going to go down because I'm not 100% on the facts. So I don't want to sway you guys away because this is supposed to be like an intro video to the novice, or future novice Jeep owners.
Another thing, if you plan on running a winch, lights and all that stuff, get an AGM battery like an Odyssey, or we both have Optima yellow tops in ours. They're really good.
Yes, you definitely need that because me and him were on a trail, and I think my winch worked for maybe 5 seconds at a time before my alternator could recharge my other battery that was not a yellow top at the time. It took us maybe an hour to winch my Jeep out, which would have normally been a 5-minute winch out just because my battery was not up to the task. And I think it ultimately fried my alternator. And didn't yours eventually, your alternator fry too?
Yeah, well, my winch killed it actually.
Yeah.
It burnt the fuse out.
So yeah, go with a battery that has enough ass behind it before you start, using your winch real heavily. And don't buy a winch just for style points. I mean, if you're gonna buy a Wrangler, a YJ, do us proud and take it out willing. I mean, that's what they're built for.
So, I guess in conclusion, to wrap this video up, if you're looking for a YJ, shoot for a 94 and 95. Both engine options will get the job done. A 4.0 is a little bit stouter, yes, but a 2.5, I think every 2.5 liter has 411 gears or 410, so it kind of makes up for that power loss. The 4.0, again, that's another rabbit hole I'm not going to go down, but mine has 355s. There's different gear ratios out there, but a 91 and to about 93, you have, again, the 2.5, the 4.0, fuel injected motors. They're both reliable, but then you have the transmission issue with the internal slave cylinders with both transmissions and both engine options. The 94s and 95s do not have that, and then 91 and below, honestly, like I said, it's a really good deal. Pass on them because those engine options, both of them are anemic. The transmissions are super weak. I mean, I'd say the 4.2 is a good motor if you want to do some work to it and take off the factory carburetor. But again, why go through that hassle when you can just shoot for 91 and up and be done with it? You have tried and true platforms. Both engine options are great. Mine has 250,000 miles on it. His has 200,000. And reliability wise, I've only replaced my starter, the battery, the alternator, and of course I've done you know, a tune-up, which everyone needs to on any vehicle, plug wire, stuff like that. But I've never had a complete like breakdown. I've never been stranded. This thing's never left me stranded. I actually blew my rear end up and drove it home in four high. They won't leave you stranded, and I mean, I think he had one issue with his, and it still didn't leave you stranded. I mean, I was there.
I always go at home.
We always get it home. Anything you want to say to wrap this up?
Do your preventive maintenance on it, and you will get a lot out of your Jeep. That's one thing.
Oil changes, that's a lot. Do a radiator flush. Oh, heater cores. Oh man, that's a lot of fun.
Heater cores do like to go bad on these. It's really not as bad as you think, like on a normal car or a truck where you got to take the whole dash apart. This heater core, actually, you can take it out. You would open the hood, and there's some bolts on the firewall, but you just loosen those up, and then you unhook your little heater hose vent, and the whole thing just drops out into the floorboard.
Yeah, it's not bad, but that's one thing to look out for. Heater cores, if it's been replaced, good. If it hasn't, go ahead and get on Amazon, put one in your cart, and overnight that sucker, because right now it's starting to get cold. The heater core is a must. But that's one thing to look out for with any YJ. Heater cores like to go bad. And you can do a Chevrolet 4.3 blower motor upgrade. You can get a blower motor out of a Blazer or something, and S10, and you can slap in here, get better heat. The heaters in these things suck, I'm not gonna lie. They're strong, but the vent placements suck. You either have it defrost on your windshield or at your feet. There's no vents blowing towards you. That's one thing I do not like about the YJ. But that's probably like my one con with this Jeep,
Yeah, that's the same with me, really.
I can't say anything about the AC. I never bolted mine on. I've resold my kit. I don't know how good they are, but honestly, you have a soft top or hard top, take it off.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps it up. So if you're looking for a YJ, like I said, 91 and up, 94, 95 preferably. I mean, you got a great trail beater. You have a great platform to work on. The mods are plentiful. The community's great. I mean,
It really sums up pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sky's the limit with a Jeep. You can do whatever you want, really.
yeah, just think of this as a giant Lego, and you can build onto it. I mean, people go crazy. They put 1-ton axles. They do Cummins swaps, LS swaps, and like I said, most of it's plug and play. There's a kit out there for it. If you have the money, you dream it up, and it's possible, basically. There's tons of things I wish I could do, but money's the issue. But even with a budget, you can still make the Jeep the way you want it. Like this right here, most of this was built with a high school part-time job budget. It's possible, guys. I'm serious. And it's pretty much the same with you, is it not? Like,
Pretty much.
just 28 hours a week right here at minimum wage built this up. You have to be patient. Use Craigslist. Find some good deals, and it's possible. And that's another reason I like the YJ. These won't bankrupt you. The parts aren't overpriced, like a JO and a JK. And this is kind of the working man's vehicle. This is something that really got me into vehicles as far as mechanic-wise. They're easy to work on.
Yep.
And I don't want to stretch this video any more than I have to, because I can go on all day about this thing. But that's pretty much it. So if you're in the market for a YJ, I highly suggest that you go for it. Find a clean frame, a good foundation to work on, and I'm pretty sure you will not regret it.
Yep.
And I don't even think these Jeeps, you'll never see them for sale. I mean, I
No.
think I'm gonna hold on to mine. So yeah, thanks for watching.